Hello, welcome. This is going to be MasterChodda's second video, Hammer Basics. In the first video we went over how to get this icon here. And there's a couple of little basics that I wanted to go over. First thing we're going to do is create a new map. And we're going to just create a room. And the first thing we're going to go over is the hollow tool. So let's start by making a room, just 512 by 512 by 512. Click Create Object. Go back to the Selection tool. Let's go ahead and hold down Shift and go to Camera, hold down Shift, drag, find where you're building. Okay, right now this is just a block. If we go inside of it, we're not going to see anything. So what we want to do is use the Selection tool, click on this, go to Tools, Make Hollow. If right now it would just go to 32 and it would go inward. If we use a negative value, so I want like -8, it's going to hollow outward as opposed to inward. So I'll show you what that does. Here you can see here that it has gone outward with hollowing, and you can now enter this as a room. So really what I should have done was chosen the no draw texture to begin with. So I'll just type in NOD, choose that, and we'll just change this to no draw to begin with, because anything that the players see obviously is going to have textures, but anything that they don't see outside of the map, everything, you want that to be no draw. This will reduce compile times, this will reduce frame lag, polygons, all kinds of stupid things that you don't want in your map. So what we're going to do is grab the face edit sheet, and we're going to go to browse, and really what we want to do is start off with a floor, and let's just choose I like wooden floors. Let's go with this. We'll make that wood, and we'll go like this. We'll choose we need a wall, so let's go wall. Let's choose a wall, something that we can use as kind of an interior wall. There's lots of exterior walls. These are kind of dry walls. Trying to use something that doesn't have a repeating pattern, something that's just, or rather doesn't have breaks in the pattern. Let's use this for now. We'll just do that, and boom, boom, and then we need a ceiling. So let's try that. CEI. All right, and let's grab for giggles. Let's use this. Okay, and what we could do is we can scale it down a little bit, or we could just leave it the way it was, which kind of fits. You can center it. That doesn't work. Center to face or fit if you wanted it to fill the entire room. I think we're going to leave it like that. Sometimes you can blow the textures out really bad if they're not high res, so be careful about using that. And then really what I wanted to go over today is a little bit of the vertex tool. And how this is accomplished is in this way here. And we're going to go ahead and lower the snap-on grid size to 8, because I like to work with 8. You can also use these to change the grid sizes, or you can use the square brackets just to the right of the P key on most keyboards. P key. So here we go. We're going to create we're going to start off with a block, okay? And Hammer will usually default it to whatever size it thinks you want. In this case, we're just going to resize this a little bit. Right-click, create object, and we should have yes, we do. Okay, so in keeping with good form, we want, now anything that you type in here, it's going to save it, so you can click on this and go back to things that you've used before. using this tool to make it all no draw. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select this and then click on this. If you click on this again, there's a few different options. The one that we're looking for is this one. And what you do is you click here, you hold down Control, and you click here, and it selects those two faces. If you don't do that, you're going to get an odd polygon. Then you just drag it down. Oops. Drag it down to about, well, let's just drag it down to here. We're going to make a an angled platform. Okay. And then what we'll want to do is drag this back to about here, because we're going to create something flat to walk on. Actually, I'm going to extend that out to there. And I'll just create another block here, and you'll see it'll format in all three planes properly. Right click, create object, and then shift drag this over here like this to create another one. And then we can take this out to about there, shift drag another one, bring it into about here, and then what we'll do is we'll use this tool again, click on that, holding Control, and then you can do it in the 3D editor box. We'll make like a little ramp, click on this, and it completes what you just tried to do. And then we'll take this, shift dragging again, and if you hit X, then you can actually just edit right in here, like so. And then what we'll do is we're gonna make like a little like a ledge around the map, something that's useful in making zombie mod maps. There's a lot of ledges and things like that, so we're just gonna create a couple of easy ramps here. We'll drag this. Yeah, we can do this all within the editor here, within the 3D view, and bring that about to there. Use the 2D views to make sure that you're within the box and everything is good. So now we want to texture this. So I guess there's a couple of ways. Hitting Z allows you to lock the cursor to the camera, and then we just select left click on any texture that you want. You can see how it's changing here as you select them. So we want the floor to be the floor, and we're going to go around and make the floor floor-like. And then we can do this with the same texture as the walls, and that's it. So now you've created basically a walk-up plank that you can essentially walk up, to gain some elevation, some altitude. That's a very basic, simple room, and you're ready to compile. But wait, we need a starting position, and that's where the entity tool comes in its basic form. So what we want to do is create an entity, which is, and I'll show you what it does here. It's right now it defaults, it'll always default to a terrorist. So what we can do is we can drag this over and create another one, because we're gonna need two. Okay, we'll need and put them both just a little bit off of the floor here, and you can see that they are kind of floating in the air, which is fine. Fall damage would obviously be much higher, so that's okay. And we'll double click on this one to open up the properties, and we'll change it to counter terrorist, so we have one of each. Okay, and this would be a good little duel. And one thing that you can do is, if you go like this will change the orientation, XYZ planes. You can see it's at 89. You could always do, just put this in, you want 90, okay, and then this one here, instead of 90, we may want 270. Okay, so they're actually back to back now. So Now we have one of each spawn, so essentially you could play multiplayer right now just by compiling this, but there's no light. There's no light and there's no buy zone, so we're going to address that. We're going to go ahead and just stick that there, go to the selection tool, double click on it, type in LI, and there's many different types of lights, but for this we're just going to use a regular light, click apply. Always remember to click apply when you change an entity, otherwise you won't have the options here available. So if you go to brightness, this is the actual brightness of the light. I'm going to leave it at 200. The 255, 255, 255 is the RGB value, red, green, and blue. The easiest way, unless if you know RGB in your head, which is all kinds of different combinations, 16 million or something stupid like that, just click on pick color. Choose whatever color you want. Say OK and apply. See how the light bulb has changed to a blue? Alright, we don't really want that for the tutorial. I'm just going to stick it, leave it with white. We'll go back to that for now. There's our several other options in here we'll go over. I'm going to do an entire tutorial just on entities, but just for now, we want starting points, we want buy zones, and we want some light, and then we need to know how to compile. So that being said, we're going to take this and let's go back to here. Let's center the light on the map and raise it up so that it looks like it's coming from the ceiling. There's something going on with models that I got to check out right now. You could essentially create a model, or even on a more basic scale, you could just create your own light so that it looks like the light's actually coming from something. So you could just create a basic box, which again I should have done in no draw. So we'll grab that texture and we'll texture it like that. And then if we go to this here, we can type in, I think we could just light, and yeah, it'll give you some things that are confusing, some things that make sense. I'm just going to use this. Okay, we click on that, and then this is where fit and center comes in. I would do that, and then this here up here, no one's really going to see it, but let's just cover it so that you don't have, no draw will allow you to see out into the void of space, and you really don't want that. It creates problems. And then the other thing, I'm going to go ahead and we'll make this even smaller, because what we want to do is we don't want it protruding that far from the ceiling. We just want it to look like a light, So let's just do this, and then there's a light in there. It'll actually look like this light is on. It's kind of cool. That's one simple way to do it. The other way would be to put in a model of a light. Models of lights are probably the better way to go. And I believe some models actually have this texture already on them. They look a little more realistic, but for simplicity's sake, we'll just go ahead with this for now. And the other thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create buy zones, because otherwise the players, they can't buy anything. So we'll just move them over here, and what that is it's a buy zone, and you use block tool, and then I'm just going to go straight for it's called trigger is what you want, and you just click on trigger, and then what you do is you just draw a box around it. Now this does not show up in the game. Okay, trigger is I mean, there are ways of making it, but I don't see why you would want to. It's just a way of saying in this area you can buy. So what we would have to do is double click on it. Oh, it's not tied to an entity. Well, how do we do that? Well, you go to tools, tied to entity, or control T. Okay, and then what you do is just click in here and just go buy. Function buy zone. It's the same for both. Don't forget to hit apply. But then you want to make this for terrorist here. And then this one here, I'm going to use control T and buy. Function buy zone, apply, and I'm going to make this for the counter terrorist. And that's really all there is to a buy zone for each of the two different teams. You can make them as big as you want. I've actually created maps where the entire map was a buy zone back in the day when we just didn't care. We were making crappy zombie maps and whatever, and different zombie mods servers are going to have different physics and things, and we had our own server, and it was cool having it like that. But anyway, so now we have our first little map with some ramps. We learned a little bit about how to make ramps and how to manipulate solid objects and copy and paste them within the editor. And it's really simple, really easy to do. But now let's go ahead and compile this. So compile is here. You're going to want to name it, let's, you know what, let's just overwrite this because it's stupid. We'll just overwrite it. Yeah, overwrite. And then we're in here. So the easiest thing to do is this. Go into normal, okay? Choose fast, leave this alone, okay, right here like this. Additional parameters, there's a lot that you can put in there. You just don't need to. Don't run the game. This doesn't work. I'm going to show you another way to run it. Compile your map. Okay, it's done once you see copy to clipboard, you're done. It's written this file, it overwrote it. So now we're going to go back into compile and change to expert. And you'll see in here there's several options. Run map and engine windowed. For tutorial purposes, this is the best thing to do. It's the only way it'll actually show up. So we just click go, and then this should just bring up a window that you can see. Windows 10 likes to video record, and if you see in here, you can choose, terrorist, and then you'll be in the game, and then you can see it actually does look like that light. You might want to move the light entity down a little bit. You can make it brighter like I showed you. There's a few things that you can do, but as you can see, we've created our first map. Everything here is working really well. This is the most basic mapping tutorial just on how to get into a basic room. So we've done everything that we need to do to create a map. There's no leaks to the black outside, which is that'll destroy your map and frame rates and everything else. Always make sure that all of your solids are connected. That's kind of why the hollow tool is a really nice tool. You wouldn't use it a lot, but if you just wanted to make a basic room, this would be how you would do it. It just allows you to create a room with no leaks and guaranteed no leaks. So we'll close that up, and then so now we want to add something to this. Like this is too close to the texture, so let's pull it down. Let's pull it down to about here. Okay, so it's not so like right up on the texture. And let's open this up, and it was kind of dark. So let's go to brightness, and let's just change this. Don't go too crazy with this, but adding 50 to it, you'd be amazed, what that'll do. So let's try that. Let's compile it again. Same way we did before. Only takes a second with these smaller rooms. And then what we can do is we can go back to expert and run in windowed mode. Take a look at this. And here we are. Okay. Counter terrorist. There we are. And it's brighter. And it looks a little bit more realistic. Probably could move the light down a little bit more, because typically those lights point straight down. You could use a spotlight, which would, it's an angular light, which would come down in a cone type fashion, which would probably be a little bit more realistic. But anyways, you get the gist of it. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing that you can do is this. We could just get rid of this altogether. We'll just delete this. And what we could do is come in here and do sky. Just type in sky. And then you should get these are all the different sky maps. You would basically, if you click on it, it'll give you the name of it. But these give you all the different sides, so you really, kind of hard to go through. If you go to Google, you can type in Valve Hammer Editor sky map names. It'll give you a list. There's a wiki for all of that. Really what you want is the skybox. Okay, and we click on here, and then we turn that into a skybox. Well, the light entity is not going to work well with that, but what does work well with that is environment light. Actually, type in light, and then light environment. And what that'll do is anywhere there's a sky map, a skybox, it's going to create kind of like a sun effect to where that comes down to where it looks like daylight, okay, which is pretty cool. So in here you have the brightness again, color, and all that jazz, but you're going to see a little bit of a different effect. And actually you can go down. This will be straight down, or you could have it go straight up. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but the angle of the light is important. and you can change it here. You could do point at. So if you go like this, you could say, I want you to point at this right here, and it'll put in the coordinates from the light to there, so that you have a little bit of an angle and some shadows. Or maybe you just want it straight down. In this case, we're just going to go straight down. Apply, close. Let's compile, just so we can show you, just so I can show you what that looks like and how it relates to what we're doing. So back to expert windowed mode, here we go, and you're going to see that this is going to look different. The whole room is going to be, or at least it should be, lit up from the skybox, and you can see it actually looks like a sky, and oh, it looks like there is a bit of an angle. It's not straight down. It should be straight down. For some stupid reason it's not, but anyways, you get the idea of what that's going to look like. It gives you a sort of realistic skybox texture that actually kind of looks like a sky. You can of course change the color and all this. I'm actually interested to see why the I have it as down. If I go down, let's try the point at and go over here. Let's try that and see how that changes what we're doing. Compile it again, it'll just overwrite the BSP, and then we can go into expert and run it in a window just to see how this has affected the light angle, and it seems to have not really done much. You can see that there's shade over here. The sun's kind of coming on a bit of an angle there. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it looks good. 3D skyboxes, that's a whole other tutorial. I'm sure you can find many of them on YouTube, and I'll probably end up doing one just to have a series of stuff. But anyways, whatever. So that's that. So the next thing that we probably should look at is going to be, like, let's make a door. So we want to make a door, okay? Great. There's a few different ways to make doors. There really is. Right now, this actually kind of brings me to something here. When you these are all joined together. I forget the exact terminology, but the way to do that is to ungroup them. You can group solids together or ungroup them. So you'll see, like right now, when it doesn't matter what I select, they all select together. Well, we don't want that. We want them to be individual. So just go here and ungroup it, or Control U, Control G will group them together. There are benefits to that, and there are negative benefits, positive and negative benefits to both. So, but really right now what we want to do is we want to gain control over a wall so that we can select it individually. There's a couple of different things that you can do. This is probably the way that most people would tell you not to do it, but I kind of like using the cutting tool. I believe it's it was carve. Yeah, that's what it was. So in order to carve, you need a solid, and you want it to go through another solid. And using carve, it does work, but it tends to create a lot of polygons, and I'll show you why I'm saying that, and what we can do differently. So we can see that they're about that tall, so you want your door to be about there. And then if you were going to use the carving tool, you just go through here like this. You could maybe give it a little bit of a lip on the bottom, and then 104, that's a little bit big for a door, but it's okay. I like to try and stay on the lines as much as possible. So what you'll see here is this solid is basically going directly through another solid, and it doesn't really matter what the texture is. But what you do is you want to cut a hole through here. That's a little wide for a door. Maybe it would be more of a double door. So I'd say about 70. Yeah, let's go from here to here, and then we'll center it on the wall like that. And then what you do is go to Tools and Carve. Okay, and then delete it. And now you have a hole in your wall. So what did that do? What does that mean? Well, if you look at it, you can see these two yellow lines here. They're showing you that. If you go to Tools and you ungroup them, you'll see what I mean by, this is basically created, um, several different solids, which is actually not horrible. But if you use the carve through multiple solids, you'll get a polygon nightmare, as I like to call it. And you really don't want to do that. So don't cut through multiple solids, only cut through one. And just be careful how much how many lines you create, how many different solids that you create, because these all create polygons. And if you can limit the amount of polygons in your map, it's typically better. So like the better way to do this, I'm just gonna Control Z, which for some reason is not working. Okay, there we go. Finally, I got that back, and then it uncut it. You see here, Control Y will redo. You can see the two lines that get drawn up there. Control Z will undo, and that'll take us back to where we were. Oops, I kind of goofed there. Okay, let's delete that. The better way to do this would be to select the wall and then kind of drag the wall up and create the door manually. I'm going to go back to 8 as it's easier to work with, and then using our shift and drag, we can size this back up like this and actually create the door manually. So we want it to be about from here to here, like that. Did I just goof? Yeah, I kind of went backwards. Take this over to here, like that, and drag it over, and then it should be the same on the other side. Size up, and then this is kind of a better way of making a door, because instead of having lines going all the way up, this is one solid, that's a solid, that's a solid. The way polygons work, this is just a better way to do it. And you can see that the dudes should fit through the door. It's 96 high. It's pretty wide. So then what we want to do is we're just going to make a fake door. We're not going to make a door that opens right yet. I guess we could. It's not overly difficult, but I'm just going to do that. And again, you hit X to allow you to edit within here or not. Okay, so we want this to be all no draw. And then I guess a real simple way, well, using this here, we go to browse, type in door, and it'll give you some door textures. It doesn't really matter which one. You can pick whichever one tickles your fancy. I'm going to go for this and right click. Oh my gosh, what has happened? Well, it's not set to fit. You can set it to fit, and then I'm just click center and fit. Oops, fit, and then close it, and then there you got a door. This one kind of sucks for this particular for these textures. So let's go to something that doesn't suck as bad, and you'll see it's already formatted to it to fit and center. So that's good. That's really all that you need. Now you have a door, but it's flush with the wall, and it doesn't really give it any contour. So I mean, what we could do is lower the grid size and just kind of pull this in a little bit. Now you're going to see the no draw here. So what you'd probably want to do is continue this texture. I'm hitting Z to lock the camera to here so I can move around and edit at the same time. Now what that'll do is it'll cast a bit of a shadow on the door, so that it'll look like there's a door there. So let's go ahead and let's compile this biznatch. And yes, los compilosos está completos, and we'll run it. Let's see what this looks like in game. Yay! Compile worked, and that worked, and that worked. And do we have a door? We have a door. Look at that. We have a fake door, but it is a door, and there's no leaks. Can't see through it. We textured it off. It just looks like there's a door there, but this door doesn't really do anything. I mean, what good is a door that doesn't do anything? There's several different ways to make a door. If we made this door open, it would open to the black area, And furthermore, if we put an entity on the outside of our map, that would also constitute a leak. So you would have to create another room, maybe a hallway going to another room. Let's go ahead and do that. So basically, we have our door and it sucks. I mean, we just, we want something a little better. So let's take this and let's create a room. So let's up the grid size to our working size of 8. We'll just take this out here like this, snap it so that it's at 8, bring it over here like that, and we're just going to create like a hallway. And there's several different ways to create a hallway. I'm going to do it in a way that I call manually. We'll jack that up there like that, bring the roof over, run it over to here. So like if your walls are, try and keep things similar. So like you can see here, the roof is on top of the wall. Maybe make keep it the same on the other side. Not that it really matters, but you'll see once your map starts to get more complicated, you're going to be really glad that you kept some kind of uniformity, so that that's on the top, these meet in between the ceiling and the roof. You know what I'm saying? So great, even if you don't, I don't really care. But anyways, so there's a couple of different things that we could do here. Let's do this. Let's go like this, and we'll bring it to half. Okay, and then we'll bust open this thing here, and we'll just kind of. Actually, let's undo that. Let's keep that so that it's like just part of the door there, like that, because that's fine. And then we're gonna need textures, so we'll continue the same floor, the same thing here. Don't forget you've no-drawed this, so grab that, put it over here. It'll be like a mirror, and then you can go like that. It'll give it, the texture. If for some reason you get, this metal strapping right here across there, you could essentially mess around with it. That's where the texture, shifting comes into play. You can move the texture around, but in this case, it seems to have worked out just fine. It looks like the door, and that's fine. That's kind of what we want. In this area here, and we can. Well, we don't want the skybox, so let's just make it this texture here for giggles. And oh man, we have a big hole out into the black, which you can't have. That's called a leak. Leaks are bad. So let's grab this texture and let's just put it here. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and let's make this so like that. We can put that to the end, and then we'll just drag this over again like that. And you'll see it looks like a door, and we've gone over this. Let's get the no draw, because you can go in here and anything you've previously typed in, it'll save there. I think once you open and close Hammer, that'll go away and you'll have to rebuild it again, but whoop-de-doo, Basil, whoop-de-doo. And then basically, we have our no draw again, because that's the proper way to do it. And make your door. That's it, man. So you got a door that goes to a door. But what if we wanted to make a door open? Ooh, well, that'd be interesting. Well, there's a couple of different ways to do that. The easiest way would be just choosing a function door. So what we could do is, let's just, for giggles, let's drag this over to here, like that, and then we can actually go. We can tie it to entity control T. Let's just type in door. See what happens. Oh, function door. There's also a rotating door, but we're not going to get into that right now. No, we are not. And let's just see what happens with that. You just made it a door, and is it going to work? I mean, if we just make it a door, you know what I mean? So let's try it. What happens when we do that? Let's compile it. Let's close that, and then let's just jump in and see what happens. What's going on here? What are we going to see? What's going to happen? Okay, yes, and don't care. All right, so here we go. Is the door going to work? I mean, if you walk up to it, oh, look at that. It just kind of went in. That's kind of useless, isn't it? It came back, but it didn't really open up like a door. So we want it to open like a door. And there's a few different ways to do that. And like I said before, haven't done this in a while, but really what we want to do is we want to, you can set the speed of the door, um, and then there was the, lip, yeah. So you set the lip to 1, and I'll show you what that does. Block damage, it was, you can set sounds, speed, and how far it goes. Move direction. Well, right now it's kind of going back, and we don't really want that. We want it to kind of recede into the wall, move over. So let's try. Well, actually, it's the orientation is based on the window that you're in. So if you come in here, select this, and come here, and go right-click and go Properties, it'll open it up, and then I think it's going to slide it into the wall there, which is essentially what we want. And again, we want it to be in the wall, and we want it to go that way. So it should, at this point, do that. And with the lip being set, it should go into a certain point, and the lip is how much is actually going to be sticking out when the door recedes. So you can set it to be open or close. We want it closed for now, for these giggles, and let's see if that made the door actually do what we want it to do. Kind of slide into the wall and do what doors do and open. Damn it. Let's check it out. Let's see. I have my doubts about this. It has been a while since I've done this, but let's see. Let's see what happens. And right now you can set it to do a few different things. Oh, look at that. It opened into the door. So we know that it's going the wrong way. We don't want it to do that. That looks stupid. Who wants that? We don't want that. So now we know that we want it to go the opposite direction on this plane. Okay, don't open it up on another plane, because then you're going to be like, what's going on? So, it was the move direction. We want it to go the opposite direction. That way. Apply. And then, the other thing that we could do is I want to make it so... I'd like to make it so that you have to click E on it to open it, and I don't remember how to do that, so I'm going to have to look that up and see. You can also set blocking damage, how much damage it's going to do when it does that. Stop it, kitty. And then yeah, I wish I could remember how to set it. Was it output? Input? Flags? Ah, that's what it was. Flags. Touch opens? No. Use opens. That way you got to go up to it, and then we want it to toggle so that use will open it and close it at the same time. Not at the same time, but you know what I mean. So wouldn't it be cool if we had both doors open at the same time? So I guess what we could do is delete this door, take this door and drag it over. We might have a little texturing to do because it doesn't really make sense right now. Okay, that makes more sense. And does it make sense on the other side? No, but that does. So let's do that. And then let's just make sure, I bet you any money, yeah, that looks like a no draw. So let's make sure that that's no draw, and this probably has a texture on it. So we want that to be, no draw. And there you go. So they're both going to open up to the right. So one's going to take the place of the other. We really don't want that. So looking at this one, and we know its direction is down. So if that one's down, then this one should be up, which should be 90. So now, and it all the flags copied over when we drug that over. So right now what should happen is we'll have to walk up to these, and you'd hit, if you hit use on either one of them, it'll just open that one. I'm going to show you how to get around that, but let's take a look at how that works in the world and if they're going to open up the right way. Let's see, because it should, open up the right way. You know, open up the right way, damn it. I'm tired of your crap. But yeah, let's check it out. Oh, doors. You touch them and they don't open, but if you hit E, oh look, they open. And the lip that we set doesn't make them go in flush to the wall, okay? And they're not going to close automatically. You would simply have to, you know, you'd have to click E on them to open them. But we don't really want that, right? That's kind of dumb, like you got to click on each door to open them. Wouldn't it be better if you just, you know, walked up and they both open? If I remember correctly, that's a trigger. So basically what you have to do is set like a trigger in front of it. And let's do the grid up to 8 here. And then so what you do is go like this and set a trigger in front of it. Okay, like that in front of the door. And then of course Control T, tie it to an entity. And then trigger, I believe it's just like trigger door or trigger, maybe trigger multiple. I think it's like trigger multiple. And then it's parent. So what you want it to do, you gotta name the entities. So let's name these doors. Let's call them name. Let's call it door 1. Okay, let's name this one door 2. All right, so door 1 and door 2. We want the trigger to is that correct? We want it to trigger something here. Trigger. I'm pretty sure it's trigger multiple. You can do trigger once, but trigger multiple allows you to send a I think it's an output, and you go like add, and then output named. It's on touching. You want it to trigger door 1, or you could use the eyedropper and touch the entity via this input. I think there should be a toggle. Yeah, toggle. Okay, and that's pretty much it. And then you add another one in here. How do you do that again? It was add, and then oops, click on this, and then of course the same. So on touching door 2. And let's have it toggle. I think that's how you do that. So door 1 and door 2 will do what they're supposed to. You can tell them to only trigger once, but no, we don't want that. We want them to open and close. So I think that's going to work, but it might not. Let's try something here. If you don't know, then friggin' try. It doesn't hurt to try. I mean, you know, just try. And if it doesn't work, then figure it out. Don't be lazy. Let's see what happens here. So essentially, if I walk up to this and I hit, well, that didn't friggin' do what I wanted it to do. That's dumb, eh? So it should be working. It's not. So let's figure out why it's not. There's always a logical explanation. And let's just see here. What's happening? Is it output? So I want it to output. So maybe oops, I don't want that. So let's try on touching. Maybe that's not it. On trigger? Maybe? What other options are there? On trigger? Door 1 and toggle the dang thing, right? Or open? Or maybe it was let's just try open. And then we'll try was that door 1, door 2? Instead of toggle, let's try open. Let's see what that does. And then, furthermore, let's take a look at these doors. I think that there's something in flags. Um, let's just do this. Let's just leave that alone. Let's do this. Let's just take off all the flags. See what happens. Let's see if that's gonna work. I'm probably noobing, and there's probably some pros watching me going, "Why are you compiling in normal and then going?" Because I don't care. I don't really care. I'm just showing people how to do stupid things. Check this out and see if this works. If not, then I'm just gonna have to do some research. Oh, look, it did open. So I got one of them right. Well, what's different between the two? I mean, oh, it doesn't open at all. It doesn't do shit. So let's find out why. Let's see. Let's take a look. Let's go. Well, this one was working okay. So, oh, input. Flags? No flags. What about this one? That has no flags. Input? Okay. So it automatically does the inputs from the output. So what's happening here? I think maybe we forgot something. So on trigger, door 1, open. Oh, on touching. Oh, so it shouldn't be on trigger. It should be on touching, I believe. So let's try it now. If everything goes as planned, when we walk through, both of those doors are going to open at the same stinking time, which is pretty cool. This stuff is all easy to figure out. Google is your best friend, or whatever search engine you like. I'm not endorsing Google by any means, but it's just what I use. And, oh, well, okay. So we screwed something up royally here. So then it was the other one that was right. So output on touching. So it wasn't on touching. It was on trigger is the correct terminology. On touching on trigger, because obviously we're using a trigger. And actually, I guess you don't really need to use the trigger. This is the trigger entity. This is the no draw entity. I guess they kind of work the same. But for giggles, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the texture to trigger. It's because you want your triggers to look like triggers, and also it doesn't render in the editor. So that's kind of helpful in seeing what's behind it and what's going on. Whereas no draw is an opaque. This is translucent. You can actually see through it. So let's check this out. And of course, I'm getting text messages, and I'm sure someone's going to call me here soon just because I'm trying to make a video. I should probably put my phone in the other room. Let's go ahead and let's try this. I think this is going to work. What do you think? Oh, snap! And then we could tell it to, they'll close. We can set the delay in closing. But that's basically a door that you walk up to and it just opens. That's pretty cool. Now, I'll tell you right now, once this closes, you're stuck in here, okay? You would have to extend the trigger through the door, okay? So let's do that, because we don't want to get stuck in a dark room. I'm scared of the dark. I don't really like the dark. So let's do this. And you can extend the trigger out further so that the door opens before the player gets to the door. That way they don't get hung up on it and they're all like, me, my hand's stuck in the door. So, you don't want that. I'm stuck in the door, You don't want that. So let's do this. Let's try this now. So we should be able to walk through the door now. We should be able to, we should be able to do this. It should be totally cool. All right. So now we should be able to go up to the door. It opens up. See, I'm kind of getting stuck on it. But now when the door closes, can I get through it? I can. I can get through it from either way. Wow, we made a door. Well, I think that's going to end this tutorial for now. This video is probably longer than I wanted it to be, but you get the gist of it. We learned a little bit more about texturing. We learned how to, manipulate blocks with the vertex tool and make ramps and platforms, and how to texture and move textures around, create a skybox. There is a light environment that's going to make the skybox emit light from it, and what angles we can send it to. And we figured out how to create door entities and have them open with the use key and with triggers, and how to name them. And Oh my gosh, so much stuff we've learned today. Thank you very much. My name is MasterChodda. This is my basic hammer editor tutorials for Counter-Strike Source. I know it's an old game. I don't care. If you like it, like it. If you got comments, comment. See you in my next video. Thank you for watching.